Hi guys, welcome to another movie crew review. Today we'll be reviewing Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. The movie stars Paul Rudd, Carrie Coon, McKenna Grace, and Kumal Nanjiani.
So this film leads on from Ghostbusters Afterlife and follows the Spengler family as they come back to New York and start fighting ghosts. It's about 2 years after the events of the first film in this reboot era, and it sees the original Ghostbusters team up with them to stop an ice age from a demon. So let's get into the review, guys.
Cool, I'll start us off. Alright. For me, this was a very mediocre film. I can't help but compare it to Afterlife. I felt Afterlife really stood strong as its own film. And this one felt like a very throwbacky, let's get the Ghostbusters and everything that it stood for all these years. Let's just throw every campiness into it and sort of very linear story. Nothing really surprised me. As opposed to Afterlife, I thought it was very refreshing, and it stood well as its own movie. As opposed to this one, I feel like it's just a very just run of the mill movie, pretty average for me. And the comedy was really hit or miss for me in this one. I thought it was a much more campy movie than the other movie. I thought it was much more on the comedy side. Most of the comedy I found funny was Kumal's character. He came across like, I don't know, because I suppose he's the new character in this film. Everyone else is, so you know what to expect with their comedy, but because he was the refreshing sort of new character in this film. But yeah, I wouldn't say it's a bad film, but that's my takeaway from it. Yeah. Moon?
Okay, so, yes, I like a couple of things in the movie. Like Cameron said, Kumal Nanjiani, I think it was quite funny in the movie. I would say he was probably the best part of the movie. There was, too much comedy, but another thing I liked was the relationship between Paul Rudd, Phoebe's character, and Carrie Coon's character. Even though it was slightly just there, but I like the relationship. And maybe a slight spoiler, but I like the aspect of having a ghost friend. Okay, so that's the all things I like. So there are a lot of things I disliked in the movie. The comedy, yes, hit or miss. Apart from Kumal Nanjiani, nothing was funny. This movie has so many people in it, like so many. And all these movies, when they try to expand the universe, they always have all these side characters go to a certain mission, sort of side quest. It's just unnecessary stuff. You don't need it. And same bloated cast. I don't root for anyone. And like I said, I felt for Carrie Coon, Phoebe's, and Paul Rudd's relationship. Paul Rudd was trying to be like a father figure, but it was just touched, and that's it. I wish they explored more there. And like Ghost Friend, I wish they explored even more over there. There were so many things they could have done here. And at the end, this movie sort of turned into Sub-Zero versus Scorpion somehow. So if they were going in full camp, go for it, make it Sub-Zero versus Scorpion, do a fatality as well. And of course there was a beam. Yep, beams are back. Sky, yep, go for it, yeah. So, yeah, that's from me. John?
Yeah, well, I enjoyed Afterlife. It was one of the first films that we all saw together as a group. I think that the takeaways that I had that were positive were, yes, we got the fan service with the original cast, and everybody likes Bill Murray, I guess, so I mean, he was in there for a little bit, but
less than a minute.
Yeah, I mean, he earned his whatever millions of dollars they paid him for that small cameo. Yeah, the relationship between Paul Rudd and McKenna Grace, that was really good in the film. And I think Dan Aykroyd, he did had a good arc in the story. It was good to see he was trying to capture the glory days of when he was a Ghostbuster, but, you know, it's kind of passed him by. And I think Ernie Hudson's character is a really interesting one because it makes the story possible. I think that other than that, I found that keeping a lot of the cast from the last film may have been its downfall. I can appreciate that, like, Podcast was kind of funny, but, you know, if he wasn't there, I wouldn't have missed him. Same with the girl from the diner from the last movie, who I can't even remember her name. I don't know, was it Lucy or something? Man, they had he looks like a German scientist, but he speaks like, hello, governor.
Hello, guys.
That guy didn't need him either.
Oh my God, I was wishing that someone would come.
There are 3 cast people that you can cut straight off the bat and not affect the film. I mean, the other thing that I think Afterlife did a bit better was with the ghost scenes.
Yeah.
They seem to be, like when the demons were coming out, was more in the dark, if that made sense. Whereas these, they felt like it was very brightly lit.
Oh, yeah.
So the scare factor from it wasn't really in it. Like the garbage bag going around the library was like,
This movie.
that was the silliness of the Ghostbusters, but it's not the same level as like the Slimer or, you know, some of the original comedic things. It just kind of felt a bit shoehorned in there. I mean, look, if you're going to see a comedy and you just want something to switch off and watch and not have to really like piece together and think about, and you like Ghostbusters, I'm sure you'll like this film. But, you know, if you're going expecting like Afterlife quality in terms of new things, hard-hitting and surprising, I don't think you're going to really get it. Other than that, yeah, I really enjoyed the film. I like the callback to Christine with the Ecto one part of the film. And yeah, the one thing that was good in the trailer, we didn't get any signs of this ghost girl that becomes Phoebe's friend, which was nice because usually in the trailer we know the ending of the film before we even go into it.
Yeah.
So it was refreshing to have something that I was like, oh, this is a character I didn't know about, or I didn't know the whole story, because we saw the start bit of the film in the trailer, but without the context, it didn't really make much sense. When you get into the film, it makes sense, but yeah, I think that was, in terms of the trailer side of it, didn't give away the film, but I mean, it's Ghostbusters. You know how it's going to end. They're not all going to die in a fireball, are they? It's pretty for PG. You know what's going to happen.
True.
Yeah.
But I would be so happy if Hello Governor was like killed off or something. Yeah.
Oh
Yeah, that would be the best. Yeah.
Yeah, I think because it was all based in New York and it was all familiar, that's where they had to sort of double down. I think they must have felt we have to double down now.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
as opposed to
nostalgia.
Afterlife, it was just a fresh start.
Yes.
Clean
sure.
slate. You didn't know where the hell they were going to take it. But this time you knew, like, all right, New York, everyone's back, sort of.
Yeah.
And
Then
then it
we
went
had more people.
very linear. Yeah, but, yeah, we said it, like, the cast was just
Sorry,
too much.
I just
Like, you touched on the relationship part of Paul
Yeah.
Rudd's character, but, like, really, there was just too much going on.
true.
For especially, I didn't want the movie to go longer, but I'm saying the runtime.
Yeah, it
for
was
them-
1 hour 55
Yeah,
minutes.
it
It
didn't
needed
give
to be
enough-
longer to expand the story.
If they wanted to touch on relationships and be hard hitting, it needed to be a bit longer, I think. But they just made it. I think they just wanted to make another fun sort of money grab
Yeah, easy one.
Ghostbusters movie, which is a bit sad considering how Afterlife really made us feel. Like, it was.
Yeah.
We all walked out of that super surprised. I remember we were
Sure.
talking about
Yeah.
for like 10 minutes of how surprisingly good the movie was. But this one, very meh. Like John said, I think if you're a big Ghostbusters fan, you're probably gonna love it. Probably, I would say.
Yeah.
But yeah, any other
No.
Point?
No, that pretty much sums it up. I mean, yeah, to that point, it was a budget capped film. Like they only had a finite amount of money to make it because I think they kind of cottoned on after Madam Web and all this kind of stuff. You can't just throw as much money at something and make it good. It was good to see the New York locations. Like they're good callbacks from the original film. The library, the firehouse. It's nice to see those in there and in there for a reason, not just for the sake of let's shoehorn them in there. Same with the Ecto One, and then we get a couple new vehicles, a couple spins on the old tech, which is good. So it's good to see that kind of stuff and see how they've advanced. But even some of the minute things, right? Like, okay, so they've been ghost busting in New York for what would be about 2 years. And you're telling me not one time Ernie Hudson or Annie Potts' character mentioned, we have a lab with scientists that are working on ghosts. Like, they're just learning about this 2 years on. That seems like a real big oversight.
Oh, yeah.
Does it not?
Otherwise, they can't explain it to us then.
Yeah.
They have to give us the exposition.
Like they had the new equipment that they only received right at the end of the movie. Like,
Yeah.
There's a few plot holes, but
I mean, it's Ghostbusters. I shouldn't be reading into it like it's
it's a very campy movie, so it really doesn't really matter.
Yeah. I guess from the posters and how the trailer is, I come across it as it's a Paul Rudd film. That's what they're trying to sell it as, from that perspective. But when you watch the film, it's really a McKenna Grace and Dan Aykroyd story.
I would be surprised. I really like McKenna Grace in the first one. Like, here she was really good too, but I don't know. Yeah,
She kind of reminds me of like a Sheldon, but less, straightforward.
yeah, she is very much.
Yeah. Which
It's
is
a
funny because
refreshing
she's
character.
a young Sheldon, so experience. Ha.
All right, guys, ready to give our scores?
Yep.
How many Slimers out of 10, man?
I'll go 5 Slimers out of 10.
John, how many Slimers out of 10?
I'm going to give it 7 Slimers out of 10.
And I'll give it 5.5 Slimers out of 10. So just, over half there. All right, guys, make sure to like, share the video, tell your friends, tell your family, subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one. Ciao.